Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a good day today. It's a nice day here. But anyway, I hope the weather cooperates where you are. Might have some rain later this week. But, all right, our lesson for today. The title of the lesson is Nothing to Hope For. And we know this is a problem many people in the world suffer from. When a person loses all hope, there's really nothing left to do but die. Job 11 and verse 20, it's pretty much what Job said. And so, such a sad situation we see in the lives of so many who choose suicide over life. And it happens a lot. And yes, there's factors that contribute to people wanting to commit suicide. And so, but it's obvious they just decided to end it all. I mean, their life was nothing. They had nothing to look forward to. And so why prolong the misery? So they must think. And so whatever the problems, those who have no hope seek to end the misery in their lives. And many have problems that they cannot deal with in their own mind. And of course, the Bible teaches us otherwise, that yes, we can handle anything that comes our way, but when we don't follow the Bible, then it's easy to realize why so many choose to end their own lives the easy way out, or so they think. They will have to stand before God and give an account. So, really, this is nothing new. I mean, it's been going on for years. Mankind has realized this for thousands of years. Generals have learned that when the enemy perceives there is no hope, that they will just surrender. And we've all heard the phrase that we should break them, or we should break their spirit. And so once they are broken, all hope is gone for them. We heard about that in some of the POW camps. Their efforts were to break the spirit of the captives. And so basically, once their spirit is broken, then there's nothing left to live for, and they'll just do whatever they're told to do. See, we think about this. A horse with a strong spirit will buck and buck to maintain control, yet the rancher who has a need for this horse will work to break it. And after doing so, the horse will become subject to the desires of the master. And in most cases, it usually turns out to be profitable and a good animal for the farmer or the rancher, however they do it. And it'll do what the master wants instead of doing what it wants to do. That's a problem we have. A lot of animals is they want to do what they want to do, and we can't train them unless we break them. And now people, in very much the same way, when people are born, they are selfish. There's no question about that. I mean, they're just demanding the whole world satisfy their needs, whether it's need for milk, or whether it's need for the diaper change, or whatever. I mean, they cry. And when a child doesn't get its way, it starts crying. And before long, the child realizes that, okay, they're in the store. He's about 4 years old now, and he picks up a bag of candy and gets ready to put in the basket. Mama says no, and he just busts out crying. And basically what happens is Mama doesn't want the embarrassment of everybody looking at her, so, okay, we'll do it this time. We'll do it this time. We'll do it this time. I mean, every time they're in the store, we'll do it this time. And the child has already learned that if he don't get his way, just make a scene. Make a big, loud, screaming scene, and guess what? He's going to get what he wants. And people learn that. There's people, they want things, they're selfish, and if they don't get what they want, they're just going to make a scene. And a lot of people don't like that. So as they're growing up, we're trying to teach our children that, okay, you need to become independent. I mean, do for yourself where you can. And so we try and teach them that, and we teach them to grow up, but then at the same time, I mean, what happens? They do what they want to do, then they become arrogant, they're disrespectful, they're unruly. And we realize what is needed is discipline. Now, discipline doesn't necessarily mean a spanking. Sometimes, if that's what it takes to get across to the child that their behavior is not correct, we do that. And so in the workplace, we do discipline. In other words, someone doesn't do what they're supposed to do, we write them up. Then we write them up and give them a suspension for a day. Write them up, give them a suspension for 3 days, and then terminate them if they won't change or modify their behavior. And that's the purpose of discipline, is not just to punish somebody, but to train them. And a lot of parents need to learn that about their discipline of their children is for the purpose of training them to function in society as they're supposed to. And so we want our children to grow up to be respected members of society and not thugs or anything like that, not jerks. And so this process should begin at an early age. And just like you cannot teach an old dog or horse new tricks, so the child is to be molded at an early age. And any society breaks down when parents and leaders and teachers do not teach or discipline the child to become what is expected of him. And this is a lesson that we've learned from history, and yet it seems to be ignored so much. There's so many people, so many kids running around right now with no supervision. They do what they want to do, and then what are they doing? Well, they're getting guns and shooting each other. They're beating each other up. They're making fun of others. They're bullying others, and that's what's happening in our world today. And so we also know that when individuals try and do things by themselves, usually failure occurs. Yet if the individual works as a team with others, they can accomplish much. And so we know that's true. Teamwork does accomplish a lot. And even when you get down to individual sports, the athlete requires training, and there is usually a support group behind the athlete. You see a tennis player out there. They're out there and they're competing in world-class events. Well, they didn't get there just because they went out and like to play tennis. They have trainers, they have managers, they have personal secretaries that sets up a routine. And so there's all of these who set up these the program and guide the athlete so that eventually when they do and they are able to get their victory, guess what? They get the trophy, they get the prize. Occasionally you will hear them say, well, you'll hear them thank the coach or maybe a strength instructor or somebody else who has guided the athlete to make the best use of their skill and their time and what they do with their own bodies. So sometimes the athletes will acknowledge those who have helped them. Sometimes they just, well, look what I did. All right, so don't be one of those kind of people. Realize that what you are today, you're not there based on your own thing. You have been molded by people that you may not realize. It might be a grandmother. It might be a father figure. It might be just a mentor of some sort. Or it might have been a teacher. One of your teachers may have motivated you enough to become the person that you are. And so we don't do this on our own. We need some help, and we usually are the result of what we have experienced. All right, now, those who do not serve God are in the stage of their life where selfishness takes control and they lose control. See, they are deprived of God by their environment or by their own choice, and they have not learned to submit to God so as to be saved. Now, David wrote nearly 3,000 years ago, "What does the Lord require? A broken and contrite spirit." In other words, a humble heart. That's what it really means. And so it's not necessarily broken to the point where there is no hope left, but yet put under control. So we humble ourselves before the mighty hand of God. And so this is what God desires. Psalm 51:17 tells us that. And so we too must find the way which gives us hope. And for this will be our salvation. Now, our hope cannot rely upon ourselves, for we fail all the time. And we can't do anything to get ourselves to heaven. So, our hope can only be accomplished when we put our trust in something greater than ourselves. In this case, that is God. When we put our hope and our trust in what God has said and what God commands us to do, then we can have that hope. We can share in that hope. And so we're speaking of putting our trust in God, and we demonstrate such trust when we become obedient to his commands. And of course, since God has promised a wonderful place called heaven for those who are faithful, we strive to be faithful. That's what he wants. And so it should be in our spiritual lives. God teaches us through his word, and when we follow his instructions, we should not fail because he gives us all the right answers. He tells us everything we need to know for salvation. He tells us how to accomplish it. I mean, it's there in black and white. It's like the instruction manual. Some people try and just ignore the instruction manual and maybe try and put a piece of furniture together without reading the instructions. And guess what? Maybe if they're lucky with enough experience, they could probably do it. But for most people, they have to read the instructions. They have to take part A and connect it to part B with part 15 or whatever. And if they follow the instructions in the order, they usually get what they are looking for. It's really no different when we serve God. God tells us what he wants. He tells us how to do it. He even tells us what kind of attitude we should be projecting when we do this. And then guess what? We have the hope. We now have hope. And so when we do as instructed, we will have the confidence to boldly approach the throne of grace in prayer and in preparation for the judgment to come. Yes, there's a judgment coming, and you need to examine yourself to see if you are ready for that judgment. I mean, if you think, well, I need a few more years, we don't have that promise. We don't have a promise of tomorrow. So, yes, Christians have hope because they put their trust in God and not in anything else. You know, Psalm 118, verses 8 and 9, the two middle verses of the Bible. It is better to trust in God than in man, and it's better to trust in God than in princes or governments. So, yeah, keep those thoughts in mind. All right, so we all have something to hope for if we want to go to heaven. Now, if we don't care about going to heaven, there's really nothing beyond this life. And, of course, the only hope is all in physical things. But the Bible teaches us these physical things are going to perish. You know, 1 John chapter 2, 15 through 17. The lust of the flesh, lust of the eye, and the pride of life, they're all going to perish with the using. But we also told the Word of God is going to abide forever. And so those who follow the Word, they will abide forever in a wonderful place called heaven. So think about those things. Share this message, if you will, and do something for God today. I mean, I keep encouraging you. Do something for God. I mean, put Bible verses on your Facebook page. Take articles that you read from Christians and share those messages. And do something for God in that way. And you never know who you might touch. Because we know from John 4:21, there are people who are seeking to worship God in spirit and in truth. And we just need to be ready to guide them in that direction. And that's a responsibility every Christian has. Okay, well, think about these things, and Lord willing, we'll be back tomorrow with another lesson. All right, bye-bye for now.